The lively little town of Willowmore in the Eastern Cape increases its numbers by a couple of thousand people each year as the Baviaans 24-hour mountain bike challenge comes to town. The locals come out in full force to welcome riders and supporters alike. And a big hit on race morning were the coffee shops lining the main street, which is the start location.
With the Baviaans, everybody is involved. The church, the schools, everybody's houses are open for them to stay. So everybody is experiencing the Baviaans.
A few moments of pensive anxiety before the start as the top riders sized each other up and the amateurs contemplated the immense task that lay ahead. Then, with the 24-hour clock ticking down, the 2015 Baviaans began. Riders leave town past the Willowmore golf course and a private game farm en route to the first spectator point of the day just outside Willowmore on the R332 to the Baviaans Kloof. They were still in big bunches here, but soon the field would begin to splinter as the stronger riders took advantage of the fast rolling roads to the entrance to the World Heritage Site, the Baviaans Kloof. Once out of town, riders had to find their way to the finish using supplied map books. The 230-kilometer route is unmarked.
The initial thinking behind the race started up with Vickers that when he dreamt up this idea of the Baviaans was to go adventure style, which is an unmarked route, team members together, and that they go out and it's an unmarked route and they have to find their own way. We give them a map that they need to follow, and it's also built quite a nice vibe with the guys to really get involved in the race and learn the rules, learn the map book beforehand. I know many years ago, before the GPS, the guys worked on the odometer exactly and zeroed the thing and worked out, okay, the checkpoint should be here.
The weather gods were smiling on the Baviaans and the riders were enjoying a significant tailwind, pushing average speeds in the early sections well above 30 kilometers an hour. This year, due to massive demand and oversubscription of entries, the Baviaans will be held on 2 consecutive weekends. Trevor Sainen at Power Bar is doing the double, competing in both the first and second races. Currently lying second in the mixed category, former winners, the husband and wife pairing of Ishan and Peter Stopforth, trying desperately to minimize time damages to the Sasol racing team, who are currently leading the entire field. Behind them, in third in the mixed race, the 4-person team, including Nikki Hilamy and former men's winner Timo Cooper. The Baviaans is no minor undertaking. Although the first 100 kilometers are misleadingly fast on good roads, it's a 230-kilometer journey, and the real challenges only begin at 110 kilometers into the race. Some preparation is needed to tackle this beast, and riders should not expect a walk in the park.
You can't just get here and think you're going to ride the Baviaans Kloof. It takes months and months of preparation. Some guys even train for years to be able to ride it. It's still a mammoth task. You've got almost 2,500 meters of climbing, over 230 Ks. Then it's the 24-hour factor. There's a lot at stake, a lot to take in, a lot of planning to be made. What you eat, when to put your warm clothing in, where to put your lights. So the Oaks need to be experienced and they need to know what they're doing. So it's not just a fun ride, the Oaks need to be prepared to come and ride.
Also taking part in the double, Dean Hahn and his team from Spur, veteran sponsors and riders of the Baviaans.
I think in the Baviaans, the water crossings is one of the key factors, talking points. The guys really investigate, want to know how high the rivers are, where should they put dry socks in and all of that. And I don't want to take that away, but in the end, it's just your feet's going to get wet, buddy. You just need to ride.
A marked favourite of the Baviaans and the Baviaans Kloof, checkpoint 1 at Vero's restaurant. Riders aren't required to stop here, but most can't resist the homemade roosterkoek.
Ja, dit is nou baie groter en ons gaan nou 2 naweke agter mekaar doen. Die roosterkoeke maak, so die fietsry groei en ek hoop dit word net groter.
While the slow riders were enjoying Veronica's handiwork, Team Sasol Racing was setting a blistering pace towards checkpoint 2, having strung out the field behind them and dropping those who couldn't hang on. Among others in the group, Team Jeep SA, Power Bar and Business Print.
Yeah, for us it was actually quite nice. Johan Loskafni and the Sasol Racing team just sat at the front, and every time when someone wants to go to the front to pick up the pace, they just went to the front again. So they did an awesome job. I think they're fantastic people, and I've ridden with Johan a couple of times, and yeah, it was good fun. But the tailwind helped us. We were flying. I think we did the first 100 k's in just under 3 hours.
One of the standout features of the Baviaans is the character of the inhabitants of the Kloof. The Baviaans seems to be a place stuck in a time zone where there's no cell phone signal and people still commute on donkey carts and bicycles. The locals are exceptionally friendly and always ready to welcome new faces. Second in the mixed race, the Stopforths had gathered a tail of riders on the undulating dirt roads.
This year we had a tailwind, so yeah, it went really nice. The first 100k is like literally, I think we had about a just 34 average, 34 kilometers an hour average down there, and yeah, it was very nice. We had a big group, and yeah, it actually everything just split it after checkpoint 2.
Checkpoint 2 was the first compulsory stop of the race. Team Jeep's Piers Smith and Tinus Redlinghuis led the way. Tinus has raced the Baviaans before and knew the importance of getting into the checkpoint first to gain some small time advantage and avoid the chaos of the bunch entry. A flat front tyre for Fani Fenter was swiftly attended to at the checkpoint, saving them having to chase back to the group on the road. After a quick refuel, it is back onto the road and time for the hardcore racing to begin.
Yeah, I think there was about 10-15 of us still at the first checkpoint. Yeah, the first point we had to actually get off, and but then with all the water afterwards, we ended up only 4 teams, probably about 5 days after the checkpoint.
The Baviaans Kloof Mega Reserve is a protected area, and with the doubling up of the Baviaans, it was great to have the support of Eastern Cape Parks.
Eastern Cape Park Sport has really been great, and they accommodated us immediately. It's quite a big event for the guys. It really helps them, and the tourism factor that the Baviaans has brought to the whole side of the Baviaans Kloof has really picked up the thing tremendously. So the guys are very keen to always assist us in getting the thing going.
While the racing snakes were through the checkpoints in a blink of an eye, for the rest of the field it was a chance to take a breather and have a little sit down, enjoy the vibe and a bit more before checking out. Up front, the pace may have slowed over the rougher, steeper terrain, but the intensity was as high as ever as the big bunch was splintering. Business Print had gained a small advantage over Sasol Racing, Jeep SA and Power Bar, while behind teams Dashes and Rocky Mountain Demicon were being tested by the relentless tempo. Although easier said than done when riders are seeing the red mist, it's worth taking a look at the scenery through the Baviaans Kloof Reserve.
Yeah, well, at the sections it was a bit tough. I just looked around me and I just appreciate the nature. It's a very beautiful area. And yeah, you get some motivation, and just it's a privilege to ride in sections like this in the world, and you just see some beautiful places, and yeah, it's a very nice route, especially if you can take some time and look around.
In a race of the Baviaans' nature, managing team efforts is vitally important to the overall outcome.
Your team members go through different stages of energy management. So you always have somebody that's suffering and somebody that's super strong. And to manage that dynamics is always a challenge, especially when you are going through the difficult section, the fangs especially, and going up to Bergplaats.
The two rudely steep climbs, known as the fangs, mark the start of the rugged and rough sections of the Baviaans. Here some technical know-how would come in handy. The Baviaans has more than 2,500 meters of vertical ascent, and most of this comes between checkpoints 3 and 6. All the climbing and all the technical bits crammed into a 100-kilometer section of energy-sapping mountain biking.
No, it's not all flat. There are some really big climbs, really big descents. And yeah, if you want to go fast, you really need to have some technical skills. There's like some washed out dongas that can really catch you out, and in some of the rivers there's some loose rocks. So it's not the most technical race, but if you have technical skills, it's really going to benefit you.
This is where the mental games would begin, and riders would begin to feel the efforts of the fast starts and realize that although nearly half the race was done, more than half the effort lay ahead. Mac, the mother of all climbs, is an 8-kilometer monster that takes the race up to checkpoint 4 at Bergplaats. This climb alone climbs for over 500 vertical meters, and the road's surface is far from smooth. It's been known to break both mind and body, and has beaten many an ambitious rider in the past. Business Print were taking no prisoners. Having attacked shortly after checkpoint 3, they maintained the pace on the brutal lower sections of the Bergplaats ascent. Behind, Sasol Racing were holding a steady rhythm. But first-timer Pierre Smith of GPSA was feeling the max bite.
Yeah, well, I can talk out of experience now. I think I bled through my eyeballs up there. And yeah, Tinus was just amazing, and he pushed me a little bit and helped me and pour some water over me. And it is a mother of all climbs. It's a massive one, especially with about 110 k's in your legs. It's just crazy, and yeah, it was such a relief getting up to Bergplaats.
Sasol Racing had now left the young GPSA riders to fight their own battles, while up front, Martin van Kloosteren led Fani Venter up the climb at a rate of knots.
Yes, my partner was a machine. That oak can climb. Yes, I loved it. So I just sat up and just watched the show. So yeah, he rode well, and yeah, it's actually, if you just pace yourself, I ride with a watt meter, and if you just check the watts and just keep it below your threshold, you're fine. You can climb the whole day.
Not so for Pierre Smith, who was certainly wishing that the climb would come to an abrupt end. Yolandi de Villiers, an ever-impressive icon in South African marathon racing, still looking strong and lying second overall in the race. Taking the prize for King and Queen of the Mountain, Martin Klooster for Business Print and Sasol Racing's Yolandi de Villiers. Finally at the top of Bergplaats, it was a quick in and out at checkpoint 4 for Business Print before they headed down to tackle the brake-burning descent on the other side. The Bergplaats descent is a long, winding affair, matching some of the gradients and road conditions of the climbs. It demands full concentration, offering no rest for the mind but some reprieve for the burning quads. It's a descent best approached with caution. Risks taken to gain time here may cost in hospital bills. Team Jeep descended ahead of Sasol Racing, who had opted for the longer stop at the checkpoint.
My team mates, I think the most important is Yolandi de Villiers. That's an old veteran of women's cycling. Extremely strong, extremely consistent. She's probably the heart of the team because of her consistency. She don't lose energy, so she don't lose faith, never complains, and that's extremely important in the race.
Forged in the untamed, local bike brand Momsen were proud supporters of the Baviaans, the nature of the beast suiting their machinery.
Being based in Port Elizabeth, based in the Eastern Cape, we thought this was the ideal event for us. Baviaans is a tough race, and I think it's a perfect proving ground for our bikes. We're a mountain bike based company. Momsen's do only mountain bikes, and this is the perfect event.
Beneath the stark red cliffs on the way to checkpoint 5, Team Powerbars Vickers Boshoff and Etnard Lowe were steadily maintaining their third position in the men's race, although they were behind the leading mixed team Sasol Racing. Already at the checkpoint, Team Jeep SA.
We're second at the moment. Actually, some friends of us just up the road. I think they're like 5 minutes up. Hopefully we'll catch them. Cheers.
Yolandi is like a beast. Sure, I'm suffering this last 15 k's. We positioned well, but I always have problems. Okay, I'm on call there.
A favourite among the riders is the Safari Firelighters checkpoint, known to the riders as the Society checkpoint. David Smith and his team were doing a wonderful job to feed the masses.
Ja, ons doen maar die normale, ons braai maar vir ouens 'n Society en 'n wors en 'n aardappel en 'n roosterkoek en ja, so en maar dis verseker die ouens is baie rustiger. Het gaan stadiger. Die ouens is maar net daai eerste paar 20, 50 ouens wat wat nogal lastig was, maar die verder van die ouens het rustig, hulle eet rustig. Ja, so dit gaan definitief stadiger.
The best. No, I think that the fun part has basically just stopped. Now it's the challenge, the adventure, so we better get going.
After checkpoint 5, there were more fast flat roads, but soon to come, the Mac's nasty cousin, the Never Ender.
Actually, I had some good legs at that stage, so I sat at the front a bit, and then my partner went to the front again. But yeah, it actually was fine. It wasn't too bad. Obviously, if you ride it in the dark, I think it can be quite treacherous because you'll never know when it will end. But we enjoyed it. We had good climbing legs today.
Smith and Rudlinghayes seemed to have recovered from their earlier efforts and were rapidly eating away at the foothills of the Never Ender, as well as the gap to the first place team. Sasol Racing held firmly onto their first place in the mixed race, while behind them Power Bar were up and out of the pedals as they tackled Never Ender. Further back in the field on the slopes of Bergplaats and the mother of all climbs, the slower riders would be racing the setting sun, hoping they'd have some light for the gnarly descent to follow.
The lights are very important, obviously because we're gonna hit Bergplaats or Mac in the dark. This year we actually plan to get on top at daytime. It is very important to chase for daytime riding especially on the descents, because on Bergplaats the descent after that is probably one of the scariest and most dangerous descents in South Africa.
Broken, eh? Cold and broken, but I'm enjoying it, it's good.
With the last of the checkpoints behind them and more than 4 minutes of a lead over their nearest team, Business Print began some early celebrations as their lead seemed nigh on unassailable. Disaster for Business Print. Their navigational error had cost them their race.
At checkpoint 6 we just gave a tag there at the end main point, and at water point, checkpoint 7, as we apparently had about a 10-minute lead, said my dad told me. And just 181 k's they were supposed to turn, and I was unsure because my GPS set is on the number. We went about 2 k's off the road, got to a gate, had to turn back the 2 k's, got to the main road, and then I was really die mekaar met.
Blissfully unaware of their good fortune, Jeep SA's riders swept into first place. They reached the Fountains Mall in Jeffreys Bay victorious. A furious day's racing for them and a great fight in the end with some good luck. Overhauling the Sasol Racing team, it also had map problems. Boshoff and Lowe came in second overall, followed a little later by Sasol Racing, the first mixed team coming home in third place overall, an exceptional performance. A shade under 8.5 hours, superb riding by Riedlinghuis and Smith for Team Jeep, 10 minutes ahead of Powerbars Vickers Boshoff and Ednard Lowe. An awesome racing experience from Sasol Racing. Jolandi de Villiers, Neil Ungere, Johan Labuskaghni dominating in the mixed category ahead of the Merrill USN team. Turbo B and friends, Nikki Boyens, Annie Davids and Andrea de Boer, the first women across the line in just under 11 hours. With the sun long gone beneath the horizon, it was time to change into warmer gear at Bergplaats and warm up around the fire with some hot soup. All too soon would be the exhilarating descent into the Kloof in the dark. Although riders are expected to bring their own lights and batteries, Baviaans' light partner Extreme Lights are on hand to change batteries and provide light where needed.
That was quite tricky, yeah, the descent, because obviously the girls are a bit more scared than the men. They like go down there very fast. And I had a trouble with my light at that part. My battery was getting flat and the other battery didn't want to work. So, but when you do it I think that's what makes it nice, is doing it in a team. Everyone sticks together. Just makes it a bit easier for you to get to the end.
For riders that have completed multiple Baviaans events, a special trophy is built by race founder Vickers van der Walt. The trophy is only complete after 5 races have been conquered.
It's one of those things I think it would be nice on your wall. Not a lot of people has got the money, the opportunity to get to all 5 races, and I think it's a privilege just to finish all 5 and have it. It's something nice, and it's from the organizers' side. It's something special. It's not just a medal. It's different.
Bit of cramping, but I'm sure I'm going to make it.
What's a cramp between friends, eh?
My buddy's been helping with popping his e-nose. They've been feeling the gas behind them, but we're going well.
Out on the dark roads, the long day was turning into a longer night for the intrepid riders as they reached the aptly named Never Ender. In the dark, this was a different beast. Impossible to tell just exactly when it would end. At this stage of the race, it's important to maintain good team dynamics and be mindful of your partner's condition and sense of humor.
How's it going? It's going well. First time, and we're making good time. Just after 10 in the evening, still on track to finish before 2. So things are going great.
I think it's the most important thing to work together. Me and my friends been friends, or my partner slash friends been mates for 31 years now. We know each other, and I had a bit of a bad ride this year. He took me through it like a solid partner.
I think the Baviaans is one of a kind, or it's a unique event at least, and I think we're going to just try and grow it from strength to strength. We'll keep the 2 events and make sure they sell out as quickly as possible and keep the guys smiling all the way through the 230 Ks from Willowmore to J-Bay.
As teams trickled into the Fountains Mall, they could finally rest their weary bodies and soak in the achievement until next year, or for those doing the double, just next week. The Baviaans is a truly extraordinary experience. Seldom do you get the chance to drive through here. This is a golden opportunity to experience it on a mountain bike. A World Heritage Site, alone, in the dark. It is something really special.